So everyone's favorite California governor, Gavin Newsom, sat down for an interview with Jen Psaki on MS Now, and he said, Vance, for whatever reason, scares me almost more than Trump. I mean, talk about a guy who put a mask on and his face grew into it. And then he calls Vance and Rubio frauds and phonies for having previously criticized Trump only to now be among his, most ardent supporters. And then Newsom continued, but JD is a unique fraud and phony, and he's a little more dangerous. Then he adds, my fear is we get so easily distracted and they're so effective on the other side. And so we must continue to be mindful, laser focused on what's in front of us every single day until the job is done. Then he urged states to maintain control over their election processes. On the one hand, I can see where a person will look at a career politician like Vance, like Rubio, even though he's not saying that he thinks Rubio is almost as dangerous as Trump or could be more dangerous than Trump. But I get where someone can look at them and say, this person, if they become president, would be more dangerous than the current person. I can understand it. But at the same time, it's like, when I think about 2028, I don't believe any of the Republicans that are at least in office, right, so like not counting Tucker Carlson, have anywhere near the charisma or ability to maintain the following that Trump has cultivated, which means it's going to be a lot harder for their supporters to be enthusiastically rallied. Now, it's not to say that I don't think, the Republicans can win. I think anything can happen, and it really comes down to, what are the Democrats offering in alternative to the Republicans? And of course, when he says, we get so easily distracted and they're so effective on the other side, and we got to be mindful and laser focused on what's in front of us, that's really rich coming from him, because a lot of people who live in California, myself included, feel like he is spending has spent the last 2 years of his term mostly grandstanding for a future presidential run, that he is so obsessed with 2028 that he couldn't, it was like the year 2025 and 2026, they just vanished in front of him, right? So all the homeless people, right, that were just flooding the streets, high cost of living, none of this stuff ever got talked about or addressed by him in any major policy related way. And what I've said time and time again is one of the reasons that people voted for Trump in 2024, they can blame sexism and all this other stuff on it, but one of the main reasons was the want for the economy to get better. When people feel like their standard of living is awful, right? Oh man, I can barely afford my house. My car note is so damn high. Gas prices are ridiculous. Food prices are insane. They're simply not going to care about all of this structural, institutional crap that these different politicians who have no who more often than not have never experienced living paycheck to paycheck or being afraid they can't afford basic things because most of them are overpaid, they're naturally not going to be as inclined to care about economic issues because they're not affected by it. I mean, it's like you think the guy living in an apartment building and paying $2,000 a month for that one little bedroom, right? Some job cutting up hours every week. They have to work 2-3 jobs each week to get that 40 hours to get the bare minimum of what will even allow them to pay the rent. Do you think they really care if Trump runs for a third term or tries to run for a third term? Like I said, Democrats are real idiots because they get caught up on all these buzzwords about fascism and, oh my God, Vance will be even more dangerous than Trump. If Democrats actually talked about things that affected regular people, right, actual economic issues, and offered solutions to those things, none of their issues would be happening now. Like I said, I know that a lot of American voters just, I think, are misguided, right? I think a lot of people don't even know about certain things, and that plays a role in who they choose to support. But I do feel bad for them that, like, they have, if Newsom is nominated in 2 years, which I hope he is not, and Vance ends up being the Republican nominee, which I think Tucker has a better chance than Vance if he gets in and could torpedo him. But assuming it's Newsom versus Vance in 2 years, or Rubio, Americans are going to have to pick between a ladder climbing obsessed con artist who let his state go to the toilets, or a fraud who used to criticize Trump heavily but has now become one of his biggest cheerleaders in their attempt to grab more power. It's really sad. Because, like I said, if you ask most regular people, they're not sitting here thinking about who's running for president in 2 years. They're trying to figure out how they're going to afford rent.